Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's JamBox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsor. Mystic Kava, an earthy, grounding blend of kava root, cinnamon bark, cranberries, and stevia. All right, thank y'all so much for watching again. Shout out The Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below. Go check them out. I guarantee you're going to like something. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hey, I'm Dune Laila. Super stoked to be here.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Yeah, music Tinder. Well, I'm originally from the Southern Oregon coast, so I grew up on a small town down there. Definitely a little bit hippie country vibes. That's where I got my countryside. But yeah, my parents came from France, so I moved to the States when I was 10 years old.
Oh, cool.
Which is where I got the French. That's my first language. But yeah, I'd say my roots are on the Southern Oregon coast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And then how did you get started with music initially?
I've always been around it. My parents weren't musicians, but I grew up, in kind of an environment where there was a lot of music playing all the time in the house. And, my parents are big music lovers, so they had musician friends. So there's a lot of jams happening and stuff. And when I was 12, I got a music teacher, because I really wanted to learn guitar. Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of got me into songwriting. And I started writing songs after I learned guitar, and I pretty much just kept it going, from there. Yep.
Oh yeah. And I mean, that's, primarily what you do now. So clearly you've stuck with it.
Yes, trying to. Still going strong.
Oh yeah. And now a few more foundationary questions just to kind of get to know your start with music.
Yeah.
And this first one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Oh. Oof. Damn, I really have to go back into my mind right now. The first album I bought, I think it was India Arie's Acoustic Soul was the first one.
Oh, exciting.
I bought, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the first live show you ever went to? That was one you wanted to go to.
Oh gosh, probably some concert. I don't remember who was playing, but probably some concert in my hometown. Yeah, I remember really wanting to go when I was super young. I was probably 8 or 9. And I was I really want to go dance
just
and go see
experience.
This. Yeah, and I remember being smaller than everybody, and everybody was dancing, and I was everybody was sweaty, and I don't remember who was playing though, but yeah, I've always loved going to live shows and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then this last foundation question. This is a new one. It's the first time we're asking this, but I'm excited to see how it goes. What is some of the earliest music you remember hearing, like experiencing and being oh, I vibe with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel that actually probably influences people's, musical style.
I imagine
later down the line. Yeah, for me, grew up in my house, a lot of old blues, old jazz, a lot of West African music, old French music. Mm. So that was kind of the tunes that were, bopping around when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then before we move on to you as the current artist, do you have a defining moment where you realized music was more than just a thing you're doing and was going to become the thing you wanted to do most?
These are all really good questions, Jimmy. Yes, I feel like there was definitely a moment. I've always loved, singing and writing music and making people feel things. And I realized from a young age that I was like, oh, wow, this makes people feel something. When I was a kid, like sometimes I would make people cry, strangers that I didn't even know. And so I was like, okay, my voice has something that makes people feel. But I just kept doing it without really thinking too hard into it. And yeah, it's about like 3 years ago, after I finished college, I was kind of waiting for the music thing to fall into my lap. I was like, well, I'm talented, something's going to happen, right? And about 3 years ago, I was like, okay, no, I have to put some work into this. Like I have to make it happen, like it's not going to fall into my lap. And so I really started like getting into recording and getting my whole like live gigging set up, and to play more shows and all that, and getting into the musician circle. But yeah, I would say I just had a moment where I was like, oh, this is my job on planet Earth. Like this is what I'm here to do, and I need to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, now let's go ahead and let's move into you as the current artist, and we're gonna get the super easy one out of the way. How'd you pick your name?
Well, my mom picked it. It is my real name.
Oh, exciting.
Yes. And it was not named after the book, but it is like the book,
Yep.
D-U-N-E. And then Laila is just my middle name, so it's actually my real name, Dune Laila. My last name is very long in French, Fougerolles, and it's not a good stage name, so
Fair.
just left that one out. So, but yeah, my name, I always wanted to just be Dune on stage. I thought it's a pretty good stage name. Shout out to Mom. But Dune is taken legally by so many brands in the movie franchise.
Yeah.
So I didn't want it to be confusing. And so I was like, hey, Dune Laila. After a lot of different options, I decided Dune Laila sounds, it rolls off the tongue nicely.
It does, and it's still unique. You know what I mean? Like it still stands out in a list of names.
Yeah.
So it's not like you were like, oh, well, my name's Terry Joseph.
Yeah. Bobby.
Yeah, exactly. Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
It's very, it's not a very like easy to Google and find a million name. So
yeah, I actually have a friend who's in my music community, Bobby Robbie, and he makes great music. And I was like, that's like the most basic name, but it like sticks out also like the most,
I mean, I can't think of another Bobby Robbie.
Yeah, he's
musically.
Great.
So I mean,
you should get him on this show.
Oh, Bobby Robbie, if you want to be on the show.
Yes.
Let's do it. Oh yeah. And then let's talk about your writing process. And we're going to break it down into a few parts, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, so you have the notion, the need, the desire to make music.
Yeah.
What are some of the first things you do every time when you're starting a song?
Yeah. I will say that when a song comes to me, I'm never waiting on it. It's not like I, like open the door and I'm like, okay, come on in. It's like most of the time, some of my favorite songs that I've written, they've just come to me. I sit down, I'm like, oh, I'll play some guitar. I sit down and something comes and I'm like, oh, I got to write this down. And so some songs, ideas just come randomly most of the time like that. And they either get built out all in one go. Like I've had some songs just come to me, in a flash, and I'll have all the lyrics and all the chords and they'll just boom. And the song's pretty much like done. I got to tweak it a little bit, but it's there. And then I'll have other songs come in bits and pieces. It'll flow in waves, so I'll write a piece down, and then a couple months later, I'm like, oh, this piece actually fits with this piece. Or I'll listen to this other recording and I'm like, oh, this actually would be a good chorus for this. So I'll like piece it together. And it's weird how even when sometimes they're months apart, ideas, if they're like meant to be together, it's weird how they just come together. It's almost like weirdly
just a very delayed
perfect
thought.
Yeah. It's cool, where that stuff comes from.
Yeah. No, I love that. And then once you have a song finished, so you've got the kind of the beginning, the ends, and everything in the middle figured out. How long does it take you to get comfortable playing it and like performing it?
I feel like the base of my playing and just kind of my vibe is like I play my songs like I have to. That's why when I play with a band, I have to really focus because I will play my songs different every time.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing things like in the moment, or just kind of free singing something.
I think it's important in a live performance to have some of that.
Yeah, totally. And so when I really don't need this to know the song that well to start playing it in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like to play it, because sometimes ideas, like last time I was playing a gig at this brewery and I was like, oh, half the people are listening, half the people aren't. I'll just play this song that I just finished. Mm-hmm. I think I had like one verse, one chorus, and I actually ended up writing the second verse like real time because
perfect.
It's just like it came out and I was like, oh, all right, that's and so I would say as long as I know I have the chorus and at least a verse, I'm good to play it. But I do have a bad habit of not being a perfectionist, and sometimes I'm like, I should probably just finish this real good because then I don't put a bridge on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then years go by and there's still no bridge. So I do want to like get better at like really finishing my songs, because they're easy to start, but it's always hard to finish.
Oh man, that is the truth. Knowing when to call something done is the forever chase for sure.
Yep.
And then actually that's a good segue into this next one. Let's look at your process. And we're going to say, let's look at your process in 2023. We're still close enough to that.
Yeah.
From the beginning to the end, how did that change for you?
Oof, yeah. A lot happened in 2023. I feel like I put a lot of work in 2022. Like that was kind of like my grind year. Mm-hmm. And then 2023 was like a lot of the seeds I planted in 2022 started sprouting in 2023, whether it was like with music connections, mm-hmm. just like my stage presence. 2023 was like a pretty productive year. I released like my first single, then I got my first album out. Mm-hmm. I played like a lot of live shows and a lot of new venues, which was really cool. And I met a lot of people from this music community here in Portland. So it's a lot happened in 2023. I definitely started out the year with less experience under my belt. And there's definitely less security in myself as an artist. I knew I loved to do it and I was writing, but I definitely feel more secure at the end of 2023, more of a clear vision of, what I want to bring with my art.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes.
That sounds the payoff year of like the putting in work from the year before. It's such an enjoyable experience at like its peaks.
Yeah.
Because it's just seeing what comes from it.
Yeah. And you don't realize it sometimes at the time, and it's harder to put in the work and you just want to get to the fun stuff, right? Yeah. But the fun stuff doesn't really happen, especially with music or as creators. It's like you do need to put in those hours, and I feel like I'm coming to a point where I'm plateauing again. I'm like, okay, I need to start, working on my material, and mm-hmm. this is my time. I need to put in some work here.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to get to the next, the next part here.
Yeah. And I think acknowledging a plateau is coming is a pretty appropriate like thing to do. I think it's more of an advanced step because they're going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's
here. I'm plateauing.
Yeah.
I'm on it right now.
It's impossible to avoid, but you can utilize those spaces because plateauing doesn't mean declining. It just means consistently in one place.
Yep.
So that your audience is receptive, that the sound that you're doing is received well. So it doesn't become a change, it becomes a refinement.
Yeah, and of like reflection, it's a good time to like self-reflect. I feel like winter is a good time mm-hmm. for plateauing.
Yeah, it's the perfect time.
Because I'm like, okay, it's not like I'm super distracted by, going swimming or parties outside.
The sun.
Yeah, the sun. A big ball of fire up there. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. And now let's go ahead and let's talk about your new album, which I believe is titled Am I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you?
I guess we'll find out. I just want to say I loved Guard Down. That track it had this like this like bounce to it. It just it grabbed me immediately.
Oh, I'm glad that you say that because that's like one of my favorites, and I feel like people haven't like mentioned it as much. So
Oh yeah, no,
glad to hear you say that. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. I will say Casino close second.
yeah,
It just
sounds fun.
There was this texture to it. Like the whole track just had this like not grit, but it had this grab.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that. But yeah, Guard Down.
shout out to Purple Matter. Yeah, he was a producer on that one. So,
oh yeah,
yeah.
But let's talk about your sound. Let's talk about the what song do you enjoy playing the most off of the new album?
Off the album?
Yeah.
I would have to say they're all fun. I would have to say it's probably the newest one because I've played it the least, you know? I really do enjoy all the songs. The ones that are more like sad heartbreak, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to move on from those.
Yeah.
But I'd say my favorite one is probably O1 Camry.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoy the little like vocal runs in that song, and it's kind of got this like soulful, you know, kind of like sexy, you know, Al Green vibe that I really enjoy playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably say O1 Camry. Here's to It All is also a really sweet one that feels really good to sing.
Oh yeah. And then can you tell us any other stories or like share any other insight about the album itself? Like, you know, with things that inspired it, some experiences you had while you were writing it?
Yeah, I will say the album is definitely a conglomeration of a lot of pieces from a lot of different times in my life. In general, though, it's definitely like a coming of age album. That's kind of the theme, you know, kind of like navigating the unsureness of like the future, you know, as like a young person. Kind of like, obviously there's a lot of like themes of love, you know, and kind of navigating heartbreak and, you know, figuring all that stuff out. So yeah, I'd say definitely like a coming of age theme. And I think there's a lot of like deepness in the album, but there's kind of this light. It's meant to make people feel kind of good and light, you know. So, you know, I'd say it's a pretty like colorful, you know, happy, you know, vibe.
Yeah.
All in all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for this next question, this is probably the densest question in the interview.
Ooh.
But we've talked a lot about, you know, the things you're doing, the actions, the reactions, the experiences so far. But when it's just you and the music one-on-one, what does the music give back to you?
I would say music, well, you know, I think music is a form of therapy, and it's definitely like a form of meditation for me, right? Like, especially when it's just me and my guitar and singing by myself in a room. You know, when I'm singing in front of people, I'm maybe focusing on other things, you know, and feeling other people's energies. But when it's just me, I fall into the music. And so it's totally like, it's a moment where like time stops. And if you're really in the flow state, you get these ideas coming through, and these, you know, this instrument I have here sometimes catches things that I'm not planning, you know. And so it's like, it's a nice moment where time can stop and my brain is only thinking about music, you know, because I make art too. And sometimes when I do art, I can think of other things, or, you know, you can always think about other things while you're doing something. But with music, it's the only thing. I'm not thinking about anything else, you know. That's just, you know, you just get in that state, you know. And I think that's really important for humans.
Yeah.
To find a place where you can have that.
Yeah, just being immersed in something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I love that answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then lastly, before we move on to the next portion, what are your goals with music? What do you want from here?
Make a bunch of money. No, I'm just kidding. It's not just about the money. No. Yeah, no, I mean, I ideally, like, you know, general goals, like I really just want to travel the world, you know, with music. I want to travel and spread my sound and meet other musicians. I really want to just be in the musician circle in a bunch of different places, you know, collaborate with other artists. So that's kind of my big motivator is traveling and being able to travel with with music. Yeah. And then just, obviously I'm really excited to keep recording and kind of keep honing in on my music style, like in the studio. Because I have so many ideas, and there's a lot of people I want to work with. So that's, kind of a big thing, is just like releasing projects that I'm proud of as well.
Oh yeah. And actually that's a perfect segue into this next question, because we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Okay.
And for this first one, if you could work with anybody in the world, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Okay. I would say, well, off the top of my head right now, I'd say Dennis Lloyd. I've always wanted to work with him. I love his style and his sound. So yeah, I told myself, I've made a mental note a long time ago. I said, I really, really, one day, I really want to do a song with Dennis Lloyd. Son Little, he's like a big inspiration too. I saw him in Portland a little while back, and I just like love his vibe, love his music. He produces a lot of his own stuff, which is really inspiring. That's something I really want to get into. So yeah, I'd say definitely like those two. And then, yeah, I think that's good.
Great choices.
Yeah, those are two good ones.
And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
A local. Yeah, I've been really lucky. I've been connecting with a lot of amazing musicians. It's pretty amazing how humble like all these like really amazing musicians are. So I've had the opportunity to connect with a lot of great musicians just since I've been in Portland. But I'd say probably, I know she's local. She travels around a lot. But Rizzo. Yeah.
Okay.
Rizzo is like, we have a lot of familiar connections in the music scene. And, she plays at a lot of festivals I go to. So I always see her from afar, but I absolutely adore her.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, she's definitely one that I'd love to connect with.
Add her in the comments. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, Rizzo's the shit.
Oh, yeah. And then for this next one, literally sky's the limits. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access, building stability, power.
This is fun. We're manifesting some shit right now.
Guaranteed best lineup, guaranteed best show.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a venue. Like all of the logistics will work in this situation.
Ooh.
Where would you want to perform?
Definitely. Okay, outside. If you're saying it like that.
Yep, perfect weather.
Okay, then I would say outside. Maybe outside in the desert during sunset somewhere.
It'll be on the solstice, so long sunset.
Yeah, long sunset and cool lighting. The show goes into the night. And when it goes into the night, the lighting kind of like gets more crazier, and a bunch of Persian rugs on the floor.
Hell yeah. So like
full band.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So like low key Burning Man without all the extra work.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
And then for this next one, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have just put out an album yesterday, they could have not put out an album in 100 years. Who would you want an album from, and when would you have wanted it to come out?
So when you say that, you mean like them releasing the album?
Yeah.
And when? Well, I'd say, that's hard. It's hard to like think of that, because all the artists I love, I'm like, they've already put out the greatest albums.
Well, not in place of. It's not like if they put this. I'm just saying, like, if one more could like appear right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, shit. Probably Amy Winehouse, man.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah.
I would have loved to see another album right now. I wish he could come out with another album right now. I wish they could find some old old recordings that were never found.
Yeah.
In the box.
Man. I would be curious to know what a post-COVID Amy Winehouse sound would have sounded like.
Dude, I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Hell yeah, that's a really good answer.
Yeah.
All right, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to start wrapping this up.
Cool.
Why don't you tell us what we can look forward to for the first half of 2024?
I am definitely honing in and working on more recording. So I definitely want to be putting out some new singles soon. I've got a collaboration, like a remix of one of my songs, Hair Ties and Lighters. That's also going to be coming out pretty soon here.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of like a house remix, which I haven't really done before, but I'm super excited for this one.
Are you doing it or is someone else doing it?
Someone else is doing it.
Oh,
yeah,
exciting.
Nara.
Yeah.
He's the producer and the one who makes the music for High Step Society.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, definitely looking forward to that.
Yes, me too. I'm excited.
And then for this next one, go ahead and look straight at the camera and tell everybody how they can find you.
So yeah, it's just Dune Laila, Laila, and that's on all the streaming platforms. I'm definitely pretty active on Instagram, but you can find me on YouTube, Spotify. You know where to go.
Oh, yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you'd like to put on while you're on here?
To put on the show. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody.
That's all right.
And I'm definitely going to think of it later and I'll be like, wow.
That's all right.
The camera's making me nervous.
Send me a message and I'll just put all their names on the screen.
Yeah. I definitely, I will send you a message later.
All right. Then we've got one final question. But before we do, I'm still steal the camera for just a second.
Okay.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below and go check them out. Guarantee you're going to like something. But with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But what is an album that you feel is more on the obscure side, but is one you wish everybody knew?
When you say obscure, you mean kind of hidden or dark?
Yeah, one that is less known, but you're just like, man, I wish everybody knew this one.
Ooh. Let me tell you right now. Oh, this is the album. This is the one I was thinking. Dulcito e Coco. So this album...
Oh, don't play too much of it or YouTube will yell at me.
This is Alamar by Vicente Garcia. And this album is like, I mean, it feels like you're on a beach with a coconut in your hand, you know, laying on the chest of someone you love. Like that album is like, I'll listen to that like driving, and it's just, it's a good one. So check it out. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get up on out here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. This has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's JamBox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Dune.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
Bye.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show. Keep jamming.